Okay. Hi, my name is Mayuresh Raut. I run a early stage venture capital fund in Bangalore and Delhi. And you'll be surprised the kind of things that are happening in India. Let me just go back because I wanted this to be a surprise. But anyway, we we are on the second fund. We have a third and fourth coming up, semiconductor focused only, then another larger one that'll do C to Series A, B and beyond, and pre-IPO. So let's jump right into this. Look at what's happening in India. This is a significant milestone for India. If you start tracking all the way back from 2014 to last year, we took about a decade to get our first $150 billion in our VC ecosystem. And I had a bunch of slides on what's happening in India. But I talk about this in various forums in India, outside India. It's a well-known story. India is exactly where China was in 2003. China was about $4 trillion then. India will be $4 trillion by the end of this year. And 21 years later, we've all been through COVID. We've all been through the 2008 crisis. China is about $16 trillion. 21 years from now on is when our Prime Minister is talking about making India a developed country. So it's a very interesting time. 21 years, China grew 4 times. The baseline for India to grow will be at least $16 trillion. The aspiration of the government is even more. Some guys are talking $20 trillion, $25 trillion, $30 trillion. We'll have to be consistently growing at 7-8%. But forget that. $16 trillion itself is an enormous amount of money, enormous value creation opportunities. And the next $150 billion will not be taking this long. Again, some eye-popping numbers. India raised about almost $6 billion last year. We had our bubble, August 2022 to 2024, and there's been a calibration on the private side of things. The public markets are still crazy. And a question was raised in the panel before, where are the exits? I hope to answer that. Look at some of the other numbers. The total funding last year was about $6 billion. We will probably be crossing that number. We still have about 4 months to go. What was a Series A all the way back in 2015, 16 is a seed stage. Valuation inflation is a reality, not just here, not just in the US, everywhere. And that's something that you have to live with. It's a consequence of what has been happening. Almost zero interest rates, everybody looking for alpha, everybody from a few $1 billion of asset classes coming down all the way to Series A. And look at the number of mergers and acquisitions. And look at I don't like this unicorn word, but it is some metric to say that you arrived and there is some value creation happening. Look at the deals that are happening. Whenever there is an evolution of any ecosystem, as a rule, there is always people who come at the late stage, and then the money starts trickling all the way down. We've seen something similar happen. The Indian homegrown VC industry is almost 20 years. We've always had the Accels, the Sequoias of the world. But there are guys like us who've been around for a decade or so. We still have a large portion of our money coming from outside India. At one point, it was almost 90%, 95%. That has changed a lot. Probably, depending on who you ask, 65 to 70% of the money still comes from outside India. And that includes ethnic Indians sitting in the US, endowment funds, institutional funds. We expect that to be at least 55-45 or 50-50 India outside in the next few years. And I'll speak a little bit more on that also. Which are some of these top funded sectors? Shouldn't be a surprise. India is a huge domestic market. E-commerce is there all across the space. We have the Flipkarts of the world, the Razorpays of the world. These are all household names now. Fintech, again, the India stack UPI story is well known. I heard some crazy numbers, and this might be eye-opening for you. I was at a conference with Nandan's team. Nandan is the person who ran this UPI stack. And between 35 to 40% digital transactions in the world are happening on the India stack. And as a consequence of that, there's a whole lot of investments that is happening on the fintech side of things. And there's a whole new deep tech story that is brewing. Space is an area that is happening very rapidly. Semiconductors is another area that is taking off really well. I alluded to this. The seed stage is where we have a fair amount of money, but there's a huge cliff after Series A between a Series B. A lot of this money still is coming from outside India. The soft banks of the world, the Accels of the world, the Sequoias of the world. And there's an opportunity there for homegrown funds to come in and bridge that gap. Some of the other data is, again, in resonance with what I mentioned. The median ticket size is also growing up. I wouldn't be surprised if that $1 million will change to a few million dollars at the seed stage. M&A deals, as I mentioned, where are the exits? We have those in India. For the longest time, till about 4 or 5 years back, whenever we went to our LPs, they would say, you come back to us every 2 years, setting up another fund. How about talking about making some returns, giving us some money back? We had no answers. Till about 2018, 2019, the only acquisitions that were happening were tuck-in acquisitions that a Twitter would do, Facebook would do, $15 million, $20 million. All of that changed dramatically 2020. The Indians, incumbents, the Tatas, the Mahindras, the Reliances, the Adanis of the world realized that you can't build everything in-house. You have to go out and make some buys. That was the first thing that changed. The second thing that changed was the Indian public markets started valuing startups. And the IPO tap that was shut forever, that opened up. There's a huge spigot that has opened up. The third thing that is happening is we have, at the last count, about 150, 160 unicorns. All of those are being acquirers. So you will easily see $100 million, $200 million acquisitions made by these unicorns. So all that has changed. Again, shouldn't be a surprise given our pedigree in software services. There's a whole bunch of founders, middle-aged and otherwise, who figured out that we spent half our life servicing Fortune 10, Fortune 100 companies. I know how to deal with some of the most demanding customers. Why don't I go out and build products? The SaaS universe is a direct fallout of that. Of course, all of this is going to change. The old SaaS playbook is over. AI is going to change everything else. But it still is one of the sectors that is making a lot of acquisitions. Here, these are where the exits are. An interesting fact for all you guys, Flipkart, Razorpay, and there's Grow, another fintech that has filed for their red herring. They'll go public in the next few years. They have paid upwards of $1 billion to move back from the US or Singapore or wherever the hell they were incorporated. Why? Because the Indian markets are giving them those multiples. The first set of startups that went public, some of them were great businesses. Zomato is a great example. Policybazaar is a great example. There were others who were too early, but all the ones that are going public now are fully geared up to have the conventional IPO pop and return money. So all the retail investors who were sitting on the sidelines are jumping head over feet into acquisitions. And this is an example of what's happening here. Obviously, you can't walk away from AI. I mean, most Indian funds are still in a spray and pray mode. I was at an event, I think a few weeks back, a couple of days back. I'm not a small fund, but I'm not a big fund either. I don't have $1 billion under management. Our best AI founders are in the Silicon Valley. Even the big funds are in a spray and pray mode because everybody's trying to figure out which of these would finally resonate in the marketplace. I don't consider even a wrapper around an offering as deep tech. But where we see a lot of value is specialized silicon, edge computing plays that have AI, infra layers. That is where the real action is going to be. Another thing that I would like to bring your attention to is there were about $7 billion worth of funds that were launched. I mean, all across. There were European funds, there were Indian funds, and there were US funds. This is only going to increase. India took the last 10 years to get its first $150 billion, but I'm pretty sure the next $150 billion will not take 10 years. It'll probably be 5 years, 4 years. I'll conclude by saying three things. I had my reservations coming to Moscow, given the fact that most of us, India, Russia has had their 70-year-old relationship. It's more the generation before me that worked really closely. There are still some sectors that work very well with Russia, but not the startups side of things. So when I asked around our LPs, folks, we work very closely with the government, they said, yeah, go ahead, do your thing, make sure your visas on the US side are clear, and then go ahead and do that. The second thing is, I wasn't sure what will work here, so I kept the presentation pretty just data that was copy-pasted from a portfolio company of ours. All this data is from a company that tracks the Indian ecosystem. So I wasn't sure if I should be using animation videos because technology has a habit of making fools of us at the wrong time. And the third thing I'll tell you is we are making an investment. And this is the guy who really put his foot down and said, you would be stupid not to make this trip to Russia. He has been working with the Russian ecosystem for the last 10, 15 years. It's as deep tech as it gets. It has applications in space, defense, cells for EVs. In fact, he's working with I was talking with somebody, one of the organizers, he's working with the Kazan state government where the application will end up in the roadworks. And he said, you'd be stupid, as I said. These guys know their science, these guys know engineering, and do make the trip. So again, I thank the organizers, and I'm absolutely delighted to see the number of people here. And I hope you start looking at India with a new set of eyes and ears. Thanks for having me.